So I will be continuing in this series that we've been in for several weeks, and I'm so excited about all the stories that you have heard. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like this year, you've heard from more people, you've heard more testimonies than I think almost any church has probably ever heard from. That it's been amazing the number of people that have been on the altar to be able to share what God has done in their life. It's been enriching, it's been encouraging, it's been life-giving, and I'm so thankful for the vision of our pastors too, for just giving people the opportunity to share those things, because it is something for me or Pastor Brandon, Pastor Melody, Pastor Chris to say. It's another for you to hear it from everyone else. And again, that list has been large. This year we've had, 35, 40 people, different people that have been on the altar, a lot that have shared this year, and I'm so thankful to be a part of that. Today I want to talk to you, though, about what is in a name. What is in a name? When I was in high school, and I was a junior in high school, I moved schools, actually moved communities. I moved about an hour and 20 minutes away from where I had previously lived, and the town that I moved from was my hometown. It was a place that I was born and raised and had lived every minute of my life up to that point. And so here I was moving as a junior in high school. And I was ecstatic about it. I was so grateful and thankful to have the opportunity to change schools while I was in high school. Not, right? Like I just wasn't. It was a difficult time for me, and so I go into this school, and I'm not sure what I'm going to find, who I'm going to find, or any of the, I don't know what the routines are. I don't know what the rituals are. I don't know the way people think. I don't know the way that they dress. I don't know what they're going to do. And so the first day, I mosey into my Spanish class. Now, I was a junior in Spanish 3 class, and there were mostly seniors in the class, in the class. And so they didn't know me. It was my first day. They were like, "Hey, you're new here, aren't you? What's your name?" "Well, we're going to call you Bob, okay?" And I was like, "Okay." I didn't think anything about it. Well, as we would walk the halls, nobody knew who I was. Nobody, really, right? Because I was completely new to the community. And so they would see me in the hall, and being seniors and goofy, they would go, "Bob, hey, it's Bob. There's Bob. Hey, Bob." And so I became Bob. It's who I was. Now, the thing is that until that happened, I had never been Bob. Every other day of my life, I had been Quentin. Now, listen, I know that some of you are just finding out that my name is Quentin. And so I'm just, it's not just Pastor Q. Like, I wasn't born as Pastor Q or Coach Q. I'm Quentin, but I had been really good at being Quentin. But it was kind of nice to get this new name and kind of assume a new identity, right? That because I got this new name, then nobody else knew Bob, right? I was new to the community. Bob got to do things that Quentin would never do. Never, right? Like I could be who I wanted to try to be. Every person that I thought maybe I would want to try to be as Quentin, I wasn't able to pull off because Quentin had all these insecurities and these challenges and these things that he's dealt with his past, and Bob was free of all that. And so Bob did a lot of things that Bob shouldn't have done. In fact, that's why Bob is not speaking today. That's why Quentin is speaking, because I had to kill Bob, right? Like Bob had to die. But I was a different person. I became a different person. And I told the 9 o'clock service, like when I was in high school, I was the sweetheart king. And so in my yearbook, my senior yearbook, this is the literal crowning moment of my life to be the sweetheart king at this school. And it says, Bob Runyon. I can't even tell everybody that that's me. But my name changed everything, right? So the way that we name stuff matters, right? It matters. What we name things, it matters. The way that you identify things, it matters. And we see this played out in the book of Genesis. And so I want to read from Genesis chapter 2 for you. It says, "Now out of the ground the Lord had formed every beast of the field and bird of the heavens and brought them to the man, being Adam, to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the livestock and the birds and the heavens and every beast of the field." So think about it like this. God was creating, and then he was bringing it to Adam to identify, right? Like he was bringing different things that had happened, different things that had formed, and allowing Adam to name them. Whatever he called them, that became its name. And I think one of the things that we have to make sure is that we're naming things as God created them, because we have a tendency to go a different direction with the way that we name things. Right, that we tend to see things from a negative standpoint, that we see things not as God sees them, but truly through the eyes of man. Paul is one of my favorite people in all of Scripture because of what I'm going to share with you from 2 Corinthians. And it's not going to be on the screen, but because there's so much. If you read 2 Corinthians, Paul is consistently telling you this list of things that's happened to him. He says, "I've been shipwrecked. I've been beaten. I've been adrift at sea." He says, I've got dangers from all over the place. Dangers from rivers, dangers from robbers, dangers from people who are supposed to be close to me. He says, I've had to deal with hunger. I've had to deal with cold exposure. And just to be honest, just the regular stresses of daily life. And all of that. And he names it. And what does he name it? Light and momentary affliction. He names it that. He names it that. All these things that are happening to him, he names them light and momentary affliction. So I want you to think about it like this. I don't know about you, but I've been on a cruise, and if my ship had wrecked at sea or was adrift, I wouldn't call it light and momentary affliction. I would call it the most horrific moment of my life. You can't believe how bad it was, right? That's the way that we would deal with that. Now, it's been a long time since I've been beaten, by the way, but I'm certain that if I were to take a beating right now, my first response to you would not be, light and momentary affliction. That would not be my response, right? Dangers from all of these different things. So he's naming it, listen, and it changes the way that he sees them because of how he names them. But it's not just the way that he sees it that's affected. Because of what he names it, it changes the way that you see it, right? Because of what he names it, it changes the way that you see the things that happen to Paul. Like we're not ever thinking about Paul, oh, woe is Paul. Why? Look at all the junk that he had happen to him. Shouldn't we feel sorry for Paul? No, because Paul doesn't feel sorry for himself. He calls it light and momentary, and because he does, we say the same thing. It's light and momentary affliction. We see this played out in the story of the 12 spies, right? That God tells Moses that he's going to give him this land. And Moses sends out spies to spy out the land. And so in Numbers 13, it says, Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. And he said to them, go up to Negeb and go up to the hill country and see what the land is, whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak. So think about it like this. He's giving them an opportunity to name what they see, right? He's giving them an opportunity to name what they see. Are they strong or are they weak? Whether there are few or many, and whether the land that they dwell in is good or bad, whether the cities they dwell in camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, or whether there are trees in it or not. be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. So Moses is giving them, he's sending out the 12 spies to go spy out the land, okay? And he's given them something really that God didn't give him, right? When God told him he was going to give him the land, he didn't say, hey, I want you to check it out first, and I want you to see whether it's the people that live there are big or not, right? He just sent them. And they go and spy out the land. In verse 27, it says, and they told him, we came to the land to which you sent us, and it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, listen, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there, big people. Right? So think about it like this. They had an opportunity to name what they experienced. We've been talking about seen and heard. What did you see and what did you hear? You have an opportunity to name it. They have an opportunity to name it, and they name it what? Strong, big, too big for us. Big people. Compared to what? Compared to whom? Right? Because let's be honest. Like, I can see you around the room. What am I? I'm 5'8". Okay? If you're 5'10" or above, raise your hand. Look at that. Y'all big people. Strong. If you're over 6 foot, raise your hand. Okay, fewer. Still big people. All right, let's try this. 6'4". I don't have a prize. I'm just having fun, right? But do you understand 6 foot? If you're 6 foot tall, you are big to me. If you're 6 foot tall, you're not big to them, right? So I might name them tall, but somebody else isn't going to name them tall. What you name something matters. The way that you see it, the way that you deal with it, the way that you identify with it. Listen to what Caleb says in verse 30. It says, but Caleb quieted the people before Moses. Shh. That's what he says. Shh. Let's go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. He doesn't talk one time about how big they are, about how strong they are. He says, hey, let's do this. Let's just go and overwhelm them. Let's go overtake the place. Right? He's naming it as something that they can defeat, something that God would give them and they would be able to have. And it says, then the men who had gone up with him said, we're not able to go up against these people, for they're stronger than we are. And so you can see the way that you name it, the way that you call it, the way that you identify it matters. It impacts the actions that you take. It impacts the way that you speak about it. And so we have to be careful how we name things, how we talk about things, how we call things out. So why am I talking about this in a series called Seen and Heard? This summer, we had the opportunity to see and hear, really, a lot about Miss Billy, Pastor Melody's mom, right? Like we had the opportunity to walk with her through sickness, see God do this incredible thing in her life, and we were getting regular updates. Why? Because it impacted our pastors, impacted us. We wanted to be in prayer with them, for them. We wanted to make sure that we were have an understanding of what was going on in their world, in their life, so that we could target prayers and all of those things. Right? We got to live that out with them in real time. Right? Well, during that same time, my dad got sick. Almost exactly the same time. Like within a week of each other. And Pastor Melody, Pastor Brandon were hearing what? That God had told them to go. And so they went to Louisiana to be with Miss Billy. The same time, I tell Pastor Brandon, my dad is in the hospital in St. Louis. And he says, do you need to go? I said, I don't feel like the Lord is telling me to go. I think I'm supposed to stay. And so week by week, I'm asking them about Miss Billy, and they're asking me about my dad. And every time, do you need to go? Do you need to go? Do you need to go? Because I want to make sure you're okay. Make sure that he's okay. If you need to go, we'll take care of things. You just go, do whatever you got it right. Like he's encouraging me. I'm watching, being encouraged by Miss Billy's story. But I just don't feel like God is asking me to go. So we had a vacation planned in July. We weren't really going anywhere. We were going to Illinois. I said in the 9 o'clock service that Illinois was not a vacation destination. My family from Illinois that was watching the 9 o'clock service bombarded my phone. So I'm so sorry. Illinois is grand. It's great. You should go see it sometime. Not really. Unless you're going to go to see my family. My family's great. But we had this opportunity to go home, and we had it on the schedule. And I thought, I'll just hold out if I can hold out. And so do you need to go? You can leave early. You can we're having these conversations and trying to make sure that everything is good. And so we were able to leave on a Friday, and we were going to have to meet with doctors about my dad on Saturday. So we traveled to St. Louis, Missouri, and I know I've been talking about Illinois, and then I said Missouri. All the good hospitals are in St. Louis. It's just what you had to do. And so my dad was in St. Louis, and we get there, and my dad hadn't really been awake much for a couple days. He really wasn't eating, wasn't really responding, wasn't able to hold himself up or pull himself up, set up. Really, he was really weak. And so the doctors called us into a room, the whole family. So my whole family is there, and the doctors tell us this. They said, you as a family need to decide how Mr. Runyon will spend his remaining hours. Not months, not weeks, not days, hours. They're like, hey, we need to figure out how your dad is going to survive. How are the final hours that he has left? How is he going to spend them? And so we were just talking about it and trying to figure out what we were going to do. And we knew that we had some time left in the hospital and all of those kind of things. And so I told Pastor Brandon, I said, it doesn't look good. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just need you to pray that we'll make good decisions, and pray that my family can handle the decisions that we make and all of those kind of things. And I called my son, Will, who's a drummer here at the church. Most of you probably know Will. Not drumming today, but he's a drummer here at the church. And I said, hey, if you want to see your grandpa, I think you need to come to St. Louis. I think you need to come see him. And so he said, okay, I'll come in the morning. Now, I know I'm older, but when I say that I'm going to come in the morning, that means 4 a.m., right? I'm going to get up early, hit the road, and head out. And so Will had to be here till about 9 that morning. And so I was thinking, oh, goodness, I don't know how many hours Dad has left, right? We've got to get back to the hospital. We've got to get to St. Louis. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'll just, we have this incredible blessing of being able to watch our services online. And so I was in Illinois, and I said, well, I'll just watch the service. I'll watch our service. I'll watch the IHeart service. And so during flow time, Pastor Brandon got up, and he was standing over here, and he asked you. He said, hey, Pastor Q is in Illinois. His dad is really sick, and things are not looking good, but we want to pray and believe that he'll have a turnaround the same way that Miss Billy had a turnaround. And so, like, in this time, Miss Billy had just had a major breakthrough, major turnaround in her life. And so we prayed. You prayed. As a church, you all prayed for my dad. And so I will just be honest with you. When I watched it, when I was watching it live, I thought, that's nice. I'm really glad that my church family's praying for my dad. But I have been at the bedside of about 40 people that have taken their last breath. And what I was looking at in my dad, I knew that I wasn't far from that time. And so I thought, kind of like too little, too late, a little bit. And so my son gets there. We go to the hospital and go see my dad, and my dad starts to perk up, decides he wants to eat. And so, like, he has 3 bites and was a little frustrated. He only had 3 bites. But if you haven't eaten in 3 days, 3 bites is a big deal, right? Like, so, and so day after day, little by little, he just began to get better. Like, just little by little. Wasn't massive, like, jump out, got out of the bed, run down the aisle. Not that kind of recovery. Little by little, every day, he got better. On Wednesday, they released him to go to a rehab facility, like nursing home kind of skilled care deal. Now, remember, Saturday, he was near death. Wednesday, they're sending him home, essentially, right? Now, again, little by little, we had Rich and his mom helped us out with a Hoyer lift, and we were able to take my dad home to be with my stepmom, and she was able to get him around because of the Hoyer lift, and little by little, he got stronger and stronger, and they had a really great physical therapist that was telling her superiors that maybe he wasn't as good as he was, so that she could keep working with him. And so he's getting better and getting better and better. And last Sunday, I wasn't here because we were in Illinois. And so last Sunday, I went to church at a place called City Hope where I used to serve on staff, and I love the people. It's my hometown. And then after church, we went for pizza. And when I got to the pizza place, there was my dad. Right? He was there to eat lunch with us. So from near death in July to eating pizza with the family in October. And I have a picture. I don't know if you can put that up. That's me and my brother and my sister and my dad. And apparently that's my Sunday shirt. I guess. Now, I know anything's possible. He doesn't look like he's about to die, does he? I don't think so either. And so this is what I want to say. It's a miracle of God what happened to my dad. I could say maybe the doctors did something, except you remember the doctors had given up. The doctors had told us, you have to decide how your dad is going to spend his last few hours, right? So I'm not giving the doctors credit. The doctors don't get credit for that. God gets credit for that. Or maybe I could say, you know what, my dad, he's a tough old bird, like he's just strong, tough, all the stuff. Except that's the same guy that was laying in the bed for 3 days without moving or eating. So it's not him. If it's not the doctors, it's not him. Who is it? It's God, right? And for the rest of my life, and he's 78 years old. I don't know how long he's going to be here. I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, right? But I know what happened in his life the last 4 months is a miracle of God, and I'm going to call it as such. Why? I'm going to call it that because then my actions should follow. Right? Right? If I'm going to name it that, then everything else has to be congruent with that. Everything else has to line up with that. So if somebody asks me 3 years from now, what happened with your dad? Right? I'm going to tell you. God saved him in a miracle. Because if I start going, well, maybe his room was just a bad room. Like maybe had bad food there for a couple of days. Maybe he didn't like the mashed potatoes. So he got some better mashed potatoes, and all of a sudden he perked up. But listen, that sounds goofy, but that's the kind of stuff that we do. Right? Like he just turned around. She just turned around. It just got better. No, God intervened. And listen, I'm gonna tell you this because I think you need to hear this. When Pastor Brennan prayed, I was not convinced that my dad was going to get better. Right? So it's not that I prayed. It's not that I had this great faith. God made a decision. And I think he honored your prayers. The fact that you were willing to pray. But it's not anything anyone else had done. Pastor Brandon had seen what God did in Miss Billy's life, and he began to talk about it in a way that impacted the way that he would step forth and pray for somebody else. Because if God can do a miracle in Miss Billy's life, then God can do a miracle in my dad's life. And listen, we can make up all the excuses that we want, but if we start beginning to give God the credit that he deserves for the things that are happening in our life, I think it will impact the way that we act, the way that we treat other people, the way that we deal with everything that we encounter. Remember in Genesis, it says that God was bringing the stuff to Adam. God allows the stuff that's happening in your life, and you get the opportunity to speak what it is. Is this the most horrible thing that's ever happened? I don't know, but it's certainly an opportunity for me to draw nearer to God. Right? This is an opportunity. It can be an obstacle. It can be something that you have to overcome, or it can just be an opportunity for you to draw nearer unto him. And you get to name it. Okay? Is it depression? Is it challenge? Is it struggle? I don't know. But you get to name it. And when you name it, it impacts the way that you live. So what are you going to call the things that have happened to you or around you? Like, this matters when we talk about the things that you've seen and heard. Right? The way that I talk about what happened to my dad will impact, the way that I name it will impact the way that I tell other people about it. Right? And so if I give the doctor's credit, then I might not tell everybody about what happened to my dad. But if I want people to be encouraged by what God has done in my dad's life, I'm going to tell everybody. I want other people to know. Peter has this opportunity with Jesus, and Jesus says to Peter, and again, this isn't going to be on your screen, but Jesus says to Peter, "Who do you say that I am?" Right? He says this great moment where he says, "Who do people say that I am?" And he's some say Elijah, right? You're a prophet, all this different stuff. And he says, "But who do you say that I am?" And what does Peter say? "Lord, you are the Messiah." Right? He names him. He says, "You are the Messiah." Right? If you call somebody your friend, that matters. If you call someone your husband or your wife, that matters. Right? So he says, "You are the Messiah." It's a defining moment. And what we know is that Peter has an opportunity to live out what he's named Jesus later in the scripture. Remember, Jesus gets arrested. And they take him. Peter's standing there watching what's going on, and the little girl comes up to him. "Weren't you one of the people that was with him?" What's he say? Not me. Peter became tormented. Why? Because he had already named it. And now he was living a lie. Right? So if you name something, then you should live it out. Otherwise, you will be living a lie. Right? So the way that you name it matters. It will matter so much for the decisions you make, the way that you treat people, the way that you act. Some of you know, like growing up, just the nature of the situation in my home. I'll keep the story short. I was an alcoholic, really young, like really young. And so like while I was in high school, I was constantly trying to find ways to go get alcohol. And fortunately, a lot of my family were alcoholics, and so I got to go steal their alcohol. And so I was trying to find ways to get alcohol consistently through my high school years. But in June of 1994, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. He became my Savior. And listen, and I have never been an alcoholic another day in my life. Never. Because from the moment that Jesus saved me, he also delivered me. And so he became my Savior and my deliverer, and I have named him as such. And so if I go, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a recovering alcoholic, I'm still an alcoholic, then I'm going to be living a lie. Because if I'm still, then God didn't do what I declared God did for me. Right? But if I declared it, if I say that he's my deliverer, if he's my Savior, then I will begin to walk that out. If I want to live the righteous life that God has called me to, I will live out what I've declared, what I have called. Those things that Adam named are still named that today. What he called them is their name. What are you calling the things in your life? What are you calling the things that have happened to you? You get to decide, not the enemy, not your neighbors, not your parents, not your friends, not your family. We can run through the list. You name them. God has laid it in your lap. He's allowed it. What will you call it?